Hey guys, welcome to tonight's video. I have been avoiding talking about this, to be honest. This video is to do with the situation and the continued nightmare at Rangers Football Club. Now, as you can see, I'm wearing the Rangers top here, so you can see why I've been avoiding doing this video, because I don't want this channel to be where people kind of see me to be biased and I'm only talking about Rangers all the time, or I'm kind of running other teams down, like running Celtic down, like that, because that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about football in general, and giving props where props are deserved and giving criticism where criticism is deserved. Now, I'd also like to say thank you to the person who subscribed to me. Their name is iBoz. So thank you for subscribing, and I hope they'll continue to subscribe, and I hope other people will subscribe as well. So, like I said, I've been trying to avoid doing this video because it's obviously something that's quite close to my heart. Rangers were Rangers obviously, the old company went bankrupt and were reformed in the third division. Now, in that season, when Craig White was in charge, there was he was taken out of charge by February because Duff and Phelps took charge, and there's obviously still the rumours that Craig White put them in charge. Now, there was people that were wanting to buy Rangers at the time, and the consortium led by Charles Green was one of them. But before that, there was this American tycoon. For some reason, I don't understand why, there was quite a selection of Rangers fans that were really dead against us and ran him out of town. The way I see it, had that guy got control, then the club would still, the old company probably still be around. I don't know in what capacity, but we'd still be in the Premier League and we'd still probably be in the Champions League. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think we should have given him a chance, because we've seen what happened with Charles Green, and yeah, he did that. He did that ice bucket challenge, obviously, because Alan McGregor nominated him to do it. But I think that was more. It was more. It wasn't kind of done in a kind of more friendly way. It was more of a kind of diss more than anything else. And the thing is, you look at that and you look at things, and he made a quick buck. Now, the situation, what happened today was Mike Ashley, who is someone we don't want anywhere near the club. You've seen what happened to Newcastle. Newcastle United got relegated under him. Now, with Freddie Shepherd, they didn't obviously have success, Newcastle, but they played exciting football, they had exciting players, and never in a month of Sundays were they in danger of getting relegated. Mike Ashley comes to the helm, and he tries to obviously get over with the fans. He downs a pint, and that's all well and good. And he brings back Kevin Keegan to appease the Newcastle fans. And then Kevin Keegan is sacked the next season after a couple of games, because there was players that he was after, and Ashley wasn't following through with that. And he had someone like Dennis Wise as his director of football, and then there's Derek Lombias, who now as well also has a role at Rangers because of Graham Wallace and Philip Nash, who have both been ousted because of this $2 million loan that Mike Ashley gave. Now, many Rangers fans will know, and it's been well documented, that Dave King and his consortium with Paul Murray and that were ready to invest $16 million into Rangers. Now, that would have been a massive cash injection. It would have helped a lot, and of course, as Rangers fans, we're all behind it. But the shareholders were not behind it, because they're obviously not wanting people that are actually care about the club on board, and people that would be is Dave King and Paul Murray, who were original shareholders of the club with the old co. I don't know about Paul Murray, but I know for sure that Dave King was, and he for some time has been trying to get control of the club, and these people are not letting him. And then Mike Ashley got control. Well, he's not got control, but he's got 9% of the club, and he can't have any more until he relinquishes Newcastle, if he does relinquish Newcastle. But he pretty much has control. He has the shirt sale rights, so pretty much the shirt sale money that obviously could have been going to Rangers coffers is going to him, go to his company, Sports Direct, which is a company, by the way, we should all boycott, and I have as well. And I used to also work for them, so more reason for me to boycott them. And he also has the stadium naming rights. Now, don't believe a word when he says that stadium's name's not getting changed. What was St James's Park? Then it was St James's Park at sportsdirect.com or something. And now it's a Sports Direct Arena. Well, to Newcastle fans, it will always be St James's Park, and Ibrox will always be Ibrox to Rangers fans. Having someone like that in control of the club that's only interested in promoting his sports company, that it's not good for the club. Rangers is a club that is an institution. It's full of tradition. It's a club that's loved by its fans, and to see the way things have been going, it's just really sad. Well, there's not obviously kind of too much we can do about that. I mean, all we can hope that is if we do get promoted back to the SPL and we get into Europe, that maybe somebody will come and take over the club. But the sad thing is with Rangers is there's no money to be made, and it's not because of Rangers as a football club. It's because Scottish football in general. The difference between if you take over a club in England, you get all the Premiership and TV money. If you take over a club in Scotland and you start investing millions, you're not going to get much of a return, even with the Champions League money, because the Champions League money is what keeps your club afloat. As the case with Celtic, although they have made 10 or 11 million profit through player sales and obviously continuing qualification for the Champions League, which they didn't qualify this season, which wasn't good for them because they needed to really do that, because obviously next season that'll probably impact their books, but then they did make some sales. So I mean, what you're kind of looking for, you're looking for someone that is a fan of the club, or someone that believes in tradition and wants to bring the club up, and is not looking to really make much money. Because if someone that's got a lot of money takes over a club in Scotland, or a club that's in a league where there's not much money being generated, they're not going to see a return on their money for a very long time. And someone like Dave King would be a good person to have in charge, or at least to have on board, because he's someone that will put the money in and he's not expecting a return, that he's obviously just genuinely cares about the club. And that's the kind of people you want running your club. You want people that care. Now, okay, you look at the English Premier League clubs, and Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City and Chelsea, they all have their owners, and yeah, you could say to a certain degree they care about the club, but they're there because of the almighty dollar. That's why they're there, to make money, and they make a lot of it. You look at someone like Bill Kenwright, the Everton chairman. Now, Everton are a club that don't spend that much money, although this season they spent a lot of money, 27 million on Lukaku, and obviously the free transfer in Eto'o. Now, the free transfer in Eto'o, I always said Eto'o. Yeah, I mean that's great, but with Eto'o there'll be massive wages that comes along with that. And don't think that because he's back in English football that he has decided to relinquish that high wages. He's still got as high wages as he ever has. Well, maybe not quite as high as that, but it's still very high. Bill Kenwright is someone that cares about Everton as a club and only wants the right person to take over. The situation with David Murray before all the stuff with Craig White was he was in charge of the club, and although things went wrong with David Murray, I think it was a factor of two things: that his company was losing money and Rangers were losing money. Now, I think his business strategy wasn't right, because from what I understand, he was taking loans out from the club's name and taking loans out from his business name. That's not right, but I do believe that David Murray did have the club's best interests at heart, but things just went wrong, went badly wrong. Craig White was someone that didn't care about the club at all. He is someone that should never have been allowed to take over the club, and David Murray actually tried to stop from taking over the club, but the Lloyds Bank group decided that he was going to take charge of the club, or they would fold it. Much like what was going to be the situation with Liverpool and RBS if FSG hadn't taken over. The situation is at the moment is that Rangers are. I'm not too sure who's going to be who's in charge of the club now. Mike Ashley's not in charge because he's not allowed to be in charge, because he already runs Newcastle, but he owns 9%, and he has a massive say what goes on with the club, because he's got the naming rights and he's got the shirt sales. For someone to invest money they're not going to receive a return because they're not going to get any of that shirt sale money. It would need a complete takeover. It's a really sad day to see that this is happening at Rangers, but unfortunately, with what's happened with the club in the past, it's been able to be exploited. And to be honest, and I'm not saying this just to try and be diplomatic, this would be unfortunate if it was happening to Celtic, because the best thing for the rivalry is for both teams to be strong. Now, there's going to be Celtic fans that will disagree with that, but let's be honest. I mean, how good was it on a Saturday or a Sunday where you would wake up and it was time for an Old Firm game? You'd get the kind of the goosebumps, you'd get a bit of jitters. You're thinking, oh man, we're going to win, and then you don't win, or you're going to get hammered and then you win, or you get a draw. But it's the buzz of it. There's nothing like. There's not too many games in the world like it. And we don't have that now because of what's happened to Rangers. And it'd be the same if it happened to Celtic, because Scottish football is in a bad way, and it needs a strong competition between two clubs, because Celtic go away into the distance and win the league. And I think even if Rangers do get promoted next season, that's exactly what will happen next season, because Rangers have got a long way to go until we can compete in the SPL. Now, we got a very good win in the League Cup against Inverness Caddo in Thistle, and we are currently 0-0 with St Johnstone. We're doing okay in the most part. Up to kind of half-hour mark, I think we were kind of matching them, although I think they did start to get to control. Chris Boyd should have scored. There's no question about that. But that game's currently half-time, so it's 0-0, and we could go through in that. And we do need to get some silverware other than the leagues, because the third division we're expected to win that, or as they call it now, League 2. Same with League 1. Championship, I think you've seen exactly how good the team is, because Hearts are 7 points ahead. Now, that's not slighting Hearts. Hearts have rebuilt very well and have a very good side, and probably a more rounded side than what we currently have. And Hibs have had a little bit of resurgence recently. They obviously defeated Rangers and they drew with Hearts. So, looking at Rangers, in my opinion, and some people are going to agree with, some people are going to disagree with it, Ali McCoist is not suitable to be Rangers manager. I remember in the last season that we were in the Scottish Premier League, that we were top and we were so many points ahead of Celtic, and they had some games in hand. And we obviously got the points deduction, but in between that as well, we had 4 games out of 6 games that we lost, and we just couldn't buy a win from anywhere. Now, when Sonny Aluko was brought in January, it did make a massive difference, and it managed to kind of secure us second spot and to make it look a bit more respectable. But the truth of the matter is, we were very poor, and even in Europe as well, we didn't qualify for the Champions League, we didn't qualify for the Europa League. It wasn't good enough, and I think the signings haven't been good enough either. Now, I don't know that McCoist isn't in charge of contracts, but from what was discussed, from that leaked thing with Sandaza, someone like Ian Black could be on 40,000 a week at Rangers next season if we get back into the Scottish Premier League. Now, in my opinion, Ian Black is someone that should never be playing for Rangers. I don't think he was ever really going to be good enough. Now, some people will disagree, but remember on Twitter when Nikita Jelavic was playing for Rangers, and he was bragging about how he was going to do something to a Rangers player, and then did it to Jelavic, and then showed no remorse. And this guy plays for us now. I'm sorry, it doesn't fly with me. So looking at the squad, looking at the current Rangers squad, Cammy Bell, I think, is a good keeper. It was good to get him from Kilmarnock. It's a good number one. Not obviously for European standards, but for Rangers, it's good. Stephen Smith, bring him back. I don't have a problem with that. Moshney's not going to cut it in the Scottish Premier League. Fraser Aird's a good young player. He's showed a lot of potential. Lee Wallace is still good. Lee McCullough can maybe go one season there. Nicky Law has been a good sign. He's been very good. Ian Black, I think we should get rid of as soon as possible. Daly as well, probably. He's been very poor this season. Lewis McLeod's been very good. He's a very good young player. David Templeton can still offer something. Nicky Clark, decent. Chris Boyd, well, the Boyd and Miller strike partnership's not exactly hitting the heights that it was before. And okay, we weren't expecting that, but you'd expect that they would have enough to kind of fire us back to the Scottish Premier League. But at the moment, it's not really looking too promising. I think that over 2 legs against whoever finishes second bottom, we could struggle, so it's by no means guaranteed. For I don't know. Peralta, yeah, he might be decent. Kenny Miller, I think we should get rid of at the end of the season. Kyle Hutton as well, since he's not really getting played. Dean Shields, probably would get rid of him as well. Foster, definitely. Darren McGregor, he was a good signing. Lee Robinson, he could probably keep as a third choice. Zaliuskis could keep. Steve Simonson we should get rid of. You look at that squad, and there's a lot of work to be done for that team to be ready to certainly challenge Celtic for the Scottish Premier League title. Now Celtic have got weaker over the last season. While Lennon was there, he was always having to sell some of their best players, like for example Hooper, Wanyama, and this season obviously they've sold Forster and they've sold. I think they sold someone else. I can't really remember too well. But yeah, I mean they've obviously got weaker, but still we've got a long way to go for our team to even be at that kind of standard. Unfortunately, I don't think we have someone that's gonna get goals all the time. I don't think we have much creativity in the midfield. We're definitely need some better defenders as well. There's a lot of work to do with the club, and unfortunately, if we don't have the right people in charge at Rangers, then this can't happen, and it's going to take a long time. I'll leave you with this. Having Mike Ashley at the helm at Rangers is bad for business. We can't have him run this club. If he runs this club, then there's probably very little chance that anyone's going to get it off him. And yeah, maybe we'll win the Scottish Premier League and be in the Champions League again. I doubt it if he's in charge, but maybe he will be, because he'll obviously make more money with the team being in the Champions League. But he'll change the stadium into something to do with his company, and he'll do something. He's obviously pocketing the money for the kits as well. It's a dark and a sad time to be a Rangers fan, and it's obviously difficult for a lot of these players and for McCoist as well. I mean, I'll give McCoist his dues, although I don't think he is the man to manage Rangers. He is a club legend, and he doesn't deserve this constant nonsense in the back room. The way he's kind of dealt with it and got on with things is admirable, but I just think as a manager, I just don't think that he's quite going to cut it. For somebody that I would look to, if we were to kind of replace him, I would probably say somebody like Stuart McCall would probably be the best candidate. Obviously, Derek McInnes from Aberdeen, but I think it's unlikely we'd probably get him. I think Stuart McCall's a very gettable manager for us if we did decide to part ways with McCoist. It's obviously very difficult for him being a club legend, and nobody loves the club as much as he does. And with all the nonsense going on, it's very difficult to keep it in control of on the field matters. But unfortunately, as the club, we must kind of focus on the field matters, because that's what's going to bring success. And we can't really, they can't do any, the players and the manager, they can't do anything about what goes on off the field. But continue protesting. You know, I would definitely withhold. I would definitely withhold season ticket money. I don't live in Glasgow, and I've obviously been to quite a few Rangers games, but I'd be less inclined to go to matches with that man in charge, because I know he's bad news and I don't want to line his pockets. Keep protesting, keep trying to do what you can to get him out of the club, because that's the way we can save the club. Because we don't want the same situation that we're in. We don't want to fold again. We want Rangers to be Rangers, and we want things to kind of move forward. Now, like I said, in closing, this is not going to be a weekly thing where I'm going to do a thing on Rangers every week, and it's not going to be a biased YouTube channel. I will talk about everything objectively, and I will talk about anything that I feel is talked about. And I feel that, you know, if you kind of watch the video, you'll see that there's been a lot of criticism. I've admitted that the team's not good enough. I don't think the manager's good enough, and I think that the future is very bleak at the moment. But I just didn't want to speak on it because I wasn't sure if I could hold my emotions in check, and I obviously want to do things professionally. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I'm sorry I was a bit kind of long-winded, but I had a lot to say on the matter, and probably more, but I think it's time to cut it there, and I'll watch the second half of the game. Okay, thank you for watching.